Hi everyone!
안녕하세요 여러분.
So Jin and I have been in our new apartment for a couple of weeks now, and honestly at first we were, I'd say, a little bit disappointed that we had to move in here just due to our recent circumstances. However, I will say that I think it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise because we do actually really like this apartment. I think since we moved in, it's been really awesome, very comfortable. I really like everything about it. It's very convenient. So I'm very glad that we are here, but there is one tiny problem that's making living here a bit difficult. And that is that, believe it or not, we cannot hear any of our neighbors that live next to us. However, we can hear everything from the upstairs neighbor, and it is driving us a little bit insane, especially when we're woken up late at night. I've personally lived in apartments my entire life since the day I was born. I've never lived in a house, so I do have a really good understanding of normal noise levels in apartments, but I definitely think this is excessive. I've never had my things on my shelves literally like vibrating and falling down before from noise. So yeah.
한국은 건물 지을 때 콘크리트를 많이 사용하잖아요. 근데 미국은 건물 지을 때 나무를 많이 사용한다고 들었어요. 그래서 이렇게 층간소음이 시끄러운지는 잘 모르겠는데 진짜 밤에 잘 때 막 집안 전체가 울려가지고 너무 힘들더라고요.
I can even hear with my headphones on. So when you do have noise issues in Korea, what do you typically do about it?
한국은 층간소음이 되게 큰 이슈잖아요. 뭐 한국 사람들은 대부분 아파트에 살고, 그리고 물론 건물이 콘크리트로 되어 있긴 하지만 막 애들 뛰는 소리 이런 것 때문에 제가 뉴스에서 봤는데 막 칼부림까지 난다고 들었어요. 뭐 한국에서는 뭐 이렇게 주민들끼리 완만하게 이게 해결해 나가려고 찾아 올라가가지고 이렇게 잘 해결해 보려고도 하고 뭐 경찰도 부르고 하잖아요. 근데 미국에서는 이 층간소음을 어떻게 대처하는지 궁금해가지고 이 영상을 제작하게 됐어요. 아마 레이가 아마 잘 해결해 나갈 거예요.
Yeah, I think especially newer builds in America, a lot of people have complaints about them. They say that they're built really cheaply, so noise transfer is a really big issue. But even if you live in an older building with squeaky wood floors, like you definitely have noise issues. So Americans have to deal with it somehow. This is my first time complaining about noise before in my life. I've always heard that you're just supposed to call the police if you are experiencing a noise issue with your neighbors and you just let the police handle it. But to me, how can I waste resources and call the police just because my neighbor's footsteps are too loud? I couldn't do that, so...
It sounds like I want to fight with you.
How can I do that?
It's obviously us. If someone calls the police, it's obviously us. So I don't think we can call the police unless they're
crazy
working out upstairs, like CrossFit.
Even then, no. I think if there's a crazy party or something, then maybe. But in this case, I didn't want to do that. So what I decided to do was send our property manager. Actually, let me back up a second. What I was originally debating is, should I go upstairs and talk to the neighbor directly, or should I write a note? If you are Minnesotan, then you know how big of a dilemma this is because Minnesotans don't like confrontation. So going upstairs to talk to him in person could be seen as confrontational and could be considered rude. However, leaving a note could be considered passive aggressive, and that could also be interpreted in a very negative way. So I was very torn. I didn't know what to do. So instead, I decided to do something else, which is send our property manager an email, which could also be seen as passive aggressive. All of our options didn't seem good. But anyway, I ended up sending our property manager an email and just saying something like, hey, I'm really sorry to bother you, but our upstairs neighbor is being very loud. We can hear everything. Like, is there anything we can do? And I think I sent it on a Friday night, so that guy wasn't working, but the noise was so extreme. Jin and I were woken up, we couldn't sleep, so what did we do?
We went up?
Yeah. We went upstairs and talked to the neighbor in person in our pajamas. and he was having a party up there, so I guess that explains why there was a lot of noise. And he just said, oh, I'll try to be quiet and just close the door. So he came downstairs and felt really uncomfortable. And after that, the noise did not stop.
I just want to freaking sleep. Oh my god, shut up.
Maybe it got quieter for a few days, but it didn't stop, so I had to email again. And we also went upstairs again to talk to him. And then we emailed again. And eventually the property manager came up with a last resort solution, which is
여기 건물 관리인이 아이디어를 하나 냈어요. 3자 대면을 하자고. 그래서 위에 사는 사람이 여기 저희 아파트에 들어와가지고 관리자가 위에서 걸어볼 테니까 어떤 식으로 소리가 울리는지 한번 실제로 느껴보라고 그러더라고요. 그래서 저희는 오케이 알겠다 하고 이제 좀 있으면은 관리인 만나가지고 3자 대면을 진행할 거예요. 윗집에 사는 사람이 저희 입장이 되어가지고 걸음소리가 어떻게 들리는지 좀 듣고 이해를 했으면 좋을 것 같아요.
Of course, like Jin and I are not mean people or negative people, so we feel really bad to even have to do this in the first place. However, with that same logic, like we are paying rent here and that person is also paying rent here, and we deserve to be able to enjoy our space just as much as he deserves to enjoy his space. So I just hope by doing this that we can all understand each other a little bit better, and hopefully the noise will be reduced. And hopefully I never have to do this again, because this is extremely uncomfortable and I don't want to do this again. I just want to sleep and be able to watch TV in peace.
미네소타 사람들은 미국 내에서도 미네소타 나이스라고 되게 착한 사람들로 되게 유명해요. 그래가지고 미네소타 사람들은 다른 타인을 대할 때 되게 무례하게 굴지 않으려고 굉장히 노력하는 편이에요. 또 비슷한 예를 들면은 한국의 개그맨 유재석이 층간소음이 일어나도 자기는 그 착한 선한 이미지 때문에 올라가서 따지지도 못한다고 이렇게 하소연했던 그 인터뷰가 기억이 나는데 지금도 이 상황이 비슷한 것 같아요. 레이가 미네소타 사람이라 가지고 그 미네소타 나이스함을 잃지 않으려고 노력하는 게 되게 피곤하겠다라고 생각이 들어요.
With that being said, Minnesota nice can be interpreted also as passive aggressiveness, which I hope this situation isn't interpreted that way, because seriously, we debated so hard about whether or not we should even complain about this issue at all. But here we are.
I mean, the thing is, he doesn't know that he's making a loud noise.
That's the
he
thing,
needs to know, so you're just being honest.
Yeah,
That's
like
it.
if you don't know, you can't fix it. So yeah, I just hope he doesn't have any hard feelings as a result of this, because that's not our intention.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have talked way too long. We got to go downstairs. So
Let's go.
Let's go. Like, speak of the devil as soon as I stood up. Can you guys hear that? I mean, I guess today, like, you can hear what we hear, so
Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah.
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 Plan of attack here is I'm going to be in yours, and I'm listening to you, and then I'm going to go up to Joe's apartment, and he's going to come down,
Okay.
and then I'm going to walk up there so he can like hear what you're hearing. Does that make sense? Okay. Cool.
This is just normal walking, but we hear it much louder than this on the
Oh, you hear it, right?
I can hear it.
it.
But at night it gets louder. Like,
And you can hear everything, like doors
shh, shh,
slamming.
shh.
Like
Well,
that's
that's
okay.
50%.
Like we can deal with that, but
I
yeah,
can hear a little bit.
this to me, this is just, I'm okay if it's this level, because I think this is just a normal apartment, but honestly it's been much louder than this, where we are woken up at night and cannot sleep.
Okay.
Otherwise I would not have complained.
Yeah. I'm gonna walk like I normally walk up there, and then I'll walk like I have a heavy foot,
Okay.
so he can actually hear like both.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Some of those footsteps are pretty loud. But also if he's dropping anything on the floor, that's definitely loud, and that kind of happens a lot. You hear like running back and forth in the middle of the day. I thought he had a dog or something. So it's just like running back and forth and dropping things. Sometimes, or working out maybe, I don't know.
So I'm gonna go, I don't know, I'm gonna take my shoes off when I'm up there, but I'll go up there and walk around, and I'll have him come down here.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like the normal sound.
Yeah. Like you heard it, like it's normal.
Oh,
It's
this is-
normally was when I was up there.
This is the sound, like
Like
when you
similar-
just passed a second ago. Yeah, this is definitely what we hear normally.
Okay.
But
But it gets louder.
daytime is okay, but at night it's kind of like loud because like it's so quiet outside. So
Yeah.
it's like amplifies.
Because I can kind of hear other people above me, but I don't think it's as loud as that. Well, the first time you talked to me, I started trying to be more cautious of that walking like this. I can be more. I'll try to like walk more.
We really
All my
appreciate
feet,
it.
yeah.
Because we really don't want to like cause any issues, and we don't want to make you feel bad either, but also when we are trying to chill, it can be kind of annoying.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I've done a little bit better job of it, and I think sometimes like my girlfriend will come visit,
I
and
see.
she's
I
like,
see.
yeah, trying to tell her, but sometimes she like,
Okay.
so yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Did you hear anything?
Yeah, definitely sounded similar to what we were experiencing.
I have a lead foot,
Okay.
so I walk pretty hard. So basically for you to know what they're hearing. And that's pretty much what this was for. So just
Okay, yeah. I'll try
but
to do more.
it's hard because walking is obviously, you know,
I
an
know.
everyday
I
thing,
understand.
a necessity.
Yeah.
Of course.
So I'm not expecting you to walk on eggshells.
Yeah.
So
we said the same
just-
thing, just as long as everyone's trying to like be mindful, then that's all we can
This
ask
was the
for.
goal for this because it does help.
Yeah.
I've done this like 5 times with other residents. not in this building,
Okay.
but other buildings.
Yeah,
So it does help.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
we
so-
definitely really appreciate
Yes.
both of you guys'
Yeah.
time.
Absolutely. And thank you for helping.
Yeah.
If you guys need anything else, let me know.
For sure.
Bye guys.
Bye.
Thank
Have a
you.
great rest of your day. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
So a couple of good things came of that little awkward meeting. First thing, Jin and I have actually been terrified that we have been disturbing the downstairs neighbors below us because like if we could hear our upstairs neighbors' footsteps, we figured our downstairs neighbors have definitely been hearing our footsteps. So Jin and I have been tiptoeing everywhere just because we didn't want to cause them any emotional distress. But the property manager said that below our floor is actually just concrete, so the chances of them hearing anything we do is very slim. That's good. And also, like our upstairs neighbor, he's not like, I guarantee he's not a crazy walker. He's not intentionally doing anything wrong. Maybe he was just walking heel to toe, like just, who knows. But since our meeting concluded and he went back inside of his apartment, I have heard not even a single footstep. So I hope that means the message was heard loud and clear and that the problem is solved. We'll see. For now, it's okay. Thank goodness. And he was very kind. Like, we're very grateful to the property manager and to our neighbor because it feels good to be able to relax in our own space. So anyway, guys, I hope you found this interesting, especially since a lot of our audience is Korean and you guys probably have dealt with noise complaints a handful of times. Was this similar to your experience in the past, or are you the kind of person that just takes a broomstick and just stabs the ceiling to annoy your neighbor? I don't know. But anyway, with that being said, I think we'll just end today's video here. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Oh, say can you see